What just happened?
I don't know, man.
Those are the moments right there. Make you feel the most alive.
Look at that frickin' brute. That's a 4-year-old buck.
I just shot the biggest buck I ever had in Michigan.
Michigan, it's Michigan gone wild here in Michigan, where the back roads run for miles and miles with the will of a man and the heart of a child on Michigan gone wild. Michigan gone wild. Michigan gone wild.
10 minutes ahead of schedule here, but I figured it's good timing.
No, yeah, perfect for me.
Good.
Where are you heading to?
The kids and I, we just drove out to a piece kind of nearby where I'm buying a house, and on Monday we're closing on a new house and opening up a new chapter. There's a river out there with a bunch of rocks in it. One of the TV show series that we do is called Taste of the Wild, and we do wild game recipes. And we've been wanting to do a crawfish boil for a long time, so we just went out and set a couple crayfish traps. We'll see what happens.
Oh, right on.
And now we're heading back to downtown Milwaukee to apartment living until the weekend wraps up and we move out.
Well, I bet you guys are excited about the new house then.
Oh yeah. The kids are fired up.
Right on. Well, let's get right into it. I'm already recording, so if you just want to announce you and you're the show and everything, and we'll just start from there.
All right, that sounds real good. Yeah, you take the lead, and I'll fill in wherever makes sense.
Okay. Well, welcome back to Michigan Gone Wild. My name is Charlie. I am sitting right now. I got Sam from Chase Nation on the other line right now, and hopefully your night's going good, Sam.
It is. It's a beautiful afternoon, evening here in Wisconsin, and the deer are out like crazy. I'm on the road right now. We've seen, 24 deer, I guess, in the last 15, 20 minutes, separate groups, and living life, dude. It's been good.
Hell yeah. Yeah, so if you just want to touch base on your show there, just in case we got a couple of listeners that might not know where to find you and who you are and such like that.
You bet. Yep. So my name is Sam Ubl. I own and am the producer of Chase Nation. We stream everything on YouTube and Carbon TV and KO TV on Roku. We've got several show titles. One of them is called Visual Storytellers, where we, some of the stuff that we submit to like Badlands for the Film Fest, and just in general, some of our top, short films that we've produced over the years and that we continue to produce, they go up on Visual Storytellers. And then Unscripted Adventures is our main show title. We're in our 7th season now. We produce typically anywhere from 15 to 25 episodes a year. We've actually went from a semi-live format to just this past year, I decided it's just a little bit tough to keep up with and maintain the quality that we've grown into. So this was a slow past season, but now we're just gearing up here to launch episode 1 on at the beginning of September, and we're going to be launching 1 new episode a week for all of September and October and the first 2 weeks in November. Then we have another show title called Taste of the Wild, which is wild game recipes. Those are all real short, 3-minute, 3 to 3.5 minute videos. We put those up everywhere, KO TV as well as Carbon TV and YouTube. And those are just our favorite recipes, right? I mean, we always show the hunt and the process, that it took to get there and took to get out. But rarely do we see, what's done with the meat. We have a lot of people that aren't hunters that happen into our show. And sometimes it gets a little bit of hate mail.
Yep.
And people just don't understand hunting in general. And so, part of the process is field dressing and consuming that wild game and wild caught fish. And so that's that's in essence what that show title is all about.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, and like I said when we got on the phone here, my kids and I are in the car. We're driving home and got a bit of time to kill, so it's perfect timing for you and I to get on the phone. But like we just went out and set 2 crayfish traps. We want to do a crawfish boil for one of our recipes coming up here for this upcoming season. So, yep. And then the last one is campfire stories, and that's really, I've got kind of a large film team, and after one of the guys gets a kill on film, they send me all their footage, and they tell me to go work my magic, right, and go produce it, create something out of it, and that's all good and well, except for it doesn't give them much of a voice to tell their own version of the story. I go chronologically in order when I'm editing to make sure I'm telling as truthful of a story behind their hunt as possible, but there's a lot of stuff that we don't always catch on film. The cameras aren't always rolling as often as they are. And there's parts of the story that are always missing. And so this gives the hunters a chance to tell their version of the story. And then we usually layer in, never before seen clips that didn't make it to the final cut. And those stories are usually pretty emotional. They're about 7.5 minutes at most. They never are shorter than 7 minutes, but never really make it to 8 minutes. And yeah, that's been a real hit for us too. So that's a little bit about our show. And then, I don't know, I guess that really speaks a lot to me and what I do. I'm a videographer, I'm a producer, I'm a hunter, fisherman, and a father.
Right on. Yeah, the stories are one of my favorites, especially especially when you watch the shows and stuff. And them stories, you must put a little bit of you must have some saved stuff on the back burner or something for those stories, because it seems like you watch one of the videos of the hunts, and then you watch the story of the guy telling us, about the hunt. You got a couple different clips in there, a little bit of fresh clips, I should say.
Yeah, like the never before seen stuff is always really cool, right? I mean, you're sitting there and you're compiling all the clips to portray a story that's entertaining to watch, and sometimes there's parts that just don't make sense to necessarily tie into the actual hunt itself, but maybe they can contribute a little bit about the journey to get there. Like sometimes it could be something like, for instance, 2 weeks ago, maybe it was 3 now, one of the guys on my team called me up and said, hey, we gotta film the interviews with my daughter so we can tie up that footage that you've got of her killing her first buck this last season. When you're out here, why don't we try to get done in time to sneak out to this field that I know that's surrounded by public. There's this huge albino buck that's been coming out on the regular, and I wouldn't doubt if he's out there when you're around town. So we snuck out there and filmed this deer. We yards off the road, and then we ended into maybe 80 yards of him in a bean field, and laid down some really unique footage that's just gorgeous to watch. But what is that really going to contribute towards as far as one of like my hunts or one of his? We're not scouting to kill that deer, but he spotted it while he was out scouting for his season. Mm-hmm. And while he's not going to target that deer, it's illegal to hunt albinos or white deer here in Wisconsin. He very well did spot him while he was in the process of scouting, and so that footage might not make it to the final cut because it might not make sense if he ends up killing a big one this year on film.
Right.
But, he might speak to it. He might be telling his campfire story and say, I was out scouting all summer long, and we ended up bumping into some really great deer. In fact, there was one real special deer that, we saw. It's just neat to see him. And while he's talking like that, that's where I'll throw that clip up over the top of it. And it actually has a place where it serves a purpose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one of my favorites. Just you already watched the video, and just getting those new clips and the new story of it. It's like it's almost like you're watching it again.
Yep. No, I appreciate that, man. I mean, I really do. I'm glad that hits home with you too. That to me is something that I feel like just in the filming industry part of hunting is kind of missing,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like, I'll never talk bad about any shows, and I'm friends with a lot of the guys out there that have their own hunting shows, but quite often is the case that, the concentration is really centered around that kill shot. And, there's nothing wrong with that. That's the biggest part, right? That's what everybody's excited to see.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I guess I really appreciate hearing a story told. And I tend to have a cinematic approach to the way that I film in general.
Yep.
And so, like, when we do these interviews, the fun part about these campfire stories is every single one of them is filmed by fire. And the first couple we did were literally campfires, but we're like, you know what? Let's mix it up a little bit. It doesn't always make sense to have a campfire because we can't always facilitate that. And it doesn't matter to me if it's a wood-burning stove, it's a fireplace, if it's an actual campfire. Hell, I don't care if it's a candle, you know? So we've done it all now, and that's really been unique, seeing those flames, the reflection of the flames bouncing off the skin of whoever the subject is in the film. We get a lot of real intimate angles, some macro shots. We concentrate pretty heavily on the hands of the subject that's talking, corners of the eyes, the corners of the lips, all the parts of the moving parts of the body that really contribute to the emotion that goes into the words behind whatever they're talking about.
Right.
And if you ever just are talking to a buddy who's telling you a story and it's getting kind of heavy, maybe he's talking about somebody from his past or something that he's really excited about, you pay attention to the corners of their lips, and the corners of their eyes, inside corners of their eyes, outside corners of their eyes, and their fingers. They really, without words, you can almost see how somebody is feeling while they're thinking about something. And so we'll try to capture that as best we can, and lay that into the footage to really give the viewer the same experience that ultimately you would have had if you were sitting there right in front of the guy.
Yeah. And for the ones that are listening right now, you pretty much do all that, correct?
I do all the editing.
Okay.
Yeah, I do 100% of our edits. But I've got, everybody on the team is got, videography in their blood. And there's not a person on my team that doesn't have pretty extensive experience running good cameras. I've got some guys that are, I don't know if I want to say more talented than the next, but I definitely have guys on the team that are more experienced than the next. We really are quite a family, I guess you would say, the lot of us. But I do have core guys on the team that are those that I depend on the most to, show up when I need them, to go out if we got to go booth up at a show, or if I've got a client calling that wants us to come film a recovery, or, we get hired to go do like a autobiography film or, something like that, those are kind of, these are the guys, my core guys that I can depend on, that I know will show up and can run cameras like, I put them up against anybody and be pretty confident if I'm not there, like they're going to hand me something that I feel like I would have filmed myself. So, yeah.
Right on. Yeah, it's always good to have those people around, for sure.
Yeah.
I have to say the storytelling is one of my favorite, besides the hunts. And then, you can hear it in your voice when you're just talking about it that you're real passionate about it. So, and then if anybody's listening to this haven't checked them out yet, they need to go there and check them, because Sam does an amazing job on putting everything to go together, the story and everything. And that's one of our biggest things, Sam, is we're in that whole storytelling as well. And usually we do that pretty much at the end of the season. We do one big, like a movie story tell type thing.
Oh, sure.
But this past year we split it up in 5. You know what I mean? We had too much going on this year to put it all in one, so we split it up in 5. So each and every one of us had a story to tell for the series, pretty much.
Yeah, that's good. Break it up and give everybody the chance to be heard. I think that's important. Right now is one of my favorite times of the year to be out filming. Early season is largely been one of my most successful times as far as bow hunting success goes, and I really accredit that to all of the time that I spend filming deer in velvet. You know, it's like a 2-for-1. I go out and I'm filming these deer, tucking into hay, you know, the edges of hay fields, getting into fence lines and that kind of thing. And I'm filming these deer come out every evening. At the same time, I'm scouting. I mean, I don't even know if I've used any footage of deer in velvet that aren't huntable deer for me or for one of my guys. Literally, we're so inundated with scouting throughout the summer and the off season that we just don't put ourselves in places necessarily where we're seeing, you know, we do a lot of driving around and you see a bunch of big bucks, but if we're really trying to get to one of our fields, you know, where we can see deer come out. And I hate to say it, but like, you know, I'm not opposed to throwing the binos up and looking at them through glasses. You know, it's a great deer.
Yep.
But if it's you know 5 miles away, I'm not really paying too much attention. You know, if we're a couple miles away, well, that's a possibility that deer could come over. You know, but even then, you know, it's just the footage doesn't ever turn out as nice as I'd like it to be if we're filming out of a window, unless we're stopped. You know, if we're stopped and I'm able to really set up my equipment and do it the right way. But yeah, I mean, I think just about everything I've ever put in any of our videos. Now, we got about 180 films out there since we started in 2016. And I would say, goodness, probably at least 40 of them have a plethora of big buck velvet footage. And of all of those, I'm fairly certain of all of those were huntable deer that we were actually trying to kill.
Oh, right on.
And that really contributes a lot. Like, I think I've killed... In the last decade, I think I've killed 6 bucks within the first 2 days of the season. Maybe it's the last 12 years now that I think of it. I'm going backwards here. 2012. Yeah, 2012 is probably the first year that I killed, you know, a quality deer, an opening day or the day after.
Okay.
And I think, yeah, just that and that's so helpful. I mean, you know, a lot of times I hear guys talk, but I hate to like derail the conversation on filming, but like I just get all antsy when it comes to early season because I literally just drove by so many deer as we've been on the phone here. But
no, that was one of my questions. If you were preferred the early season, mid season, or late season, but sounds like you prefer the early season.
I prefer early season over anything. I mean, who doesn't like getting out there in the rut and having, you know, bucks just running around stupid with their tongues hanging out, you know, and that's fun, but it's so much more of a chance type hunt. I mean, there's all kinds of skill involved with rut hunting. I mean, you can focus on doe bedding areas and imagine like, oh, yeah, well, buck's probably going to J-hook around here and try to get downwind and, you know, setting up on scrape lines and that kind of thing. But, I mean, and just having deer on the hoof like all day long, it's fun. But as far as the actual like hunt goes, you know, applying all the knowledge that you gained from scouting and putting that to action and trying to kill a deer using that knowledge you've gained, the early season is far and wide one of my favorite times of year. And I've been so successful doing it. And again, I credit that to the amount of time we spend filming. We have to be out there filming in velvet in order to put enough content into our videos, you know. I mean, it's fun to watch, you know. I've never been a big food plot guy. Last year was the first year of my life I ever hunted near a food plot. But a lot of the guys on the team are farmers or big time into food plots. And so we've got to film that content, you know, and just, you know, in the early spring when you still got dustings of snow, you know, we're out scouting and I like those dustings of snow because, you know, we hunt a lot of marshes where we're in our area. You know, I know Michigan's kind of the same exact type of habitat. Yep. At least the lower Michigan is. And getting out into those cattail swamps or even like big CRP and, you know, you can look at it in the summertime and not have a clue where deer are really traveling without, you know, busting through a bunch of junk. But or even in the fall, it's hard to tell. I mean, yeah, you spot a trailer or 3, but you know, when you get a fresh dusting of snow, it's not enough to really add up inches, but it's enough to highlight and trace those trails. Man, outstanding for us as far as time to get out scout. And what's great is a lot of times that's when we're out shed hunting. You know.
Yeah.
I should say we don't find a lot of sheds between my network and I. We spend all our time out shed hunting on land that we can hunt, and and that doesn't turn up a whole lot of antler. I'll be honest with you. It's like we're out scouting, and then hopefully we bump into a shed kind of a thing.
Yeah, that's pretty much the same here. It's slim picking when it comes shed hunting. We had too many animals in the woods that like the antlers more than we do.
I was just in Michigan, I don't know, a week or two ago.
Yep.
The Mobile Hunters Expo was going on in Kalamazoo, and I came out to do a Q&A on Friday, and then I did a brief seminar on access, entry and exit strategies for whitetail on Saturday. And during that seminar, I made a comment, and I said, how many guys in the room here are have hunted out of state? And only 2 hands went up. I don't know if there's maybe like 40, 45 people or something that were sitting there. 2 hands went up. I thought, okay, that's not what I was expecting. So now what I had intended to talk about right when I asked that question was kind of derailed. I'm like, well, boy, I better not focus too heavy on this topic because there's not a lot of relatability here. And I said, so how many of you all are from Michigan? And every single hand went up. Every single hand. And I thought, okay. So I don't know if that's common for Michiganders to stay local or what. But I made a comment then. I said, what's kind of funny is a lot of guys in Michigan will write in and say, you guys, that was pretty cool to watch if they watch one of our videos. Come to Michigan and try that. Let us know how that goes. And I said, it's just funny because everybody that hunts Michigan has never said anything positive about like the hunting other than the like how it's rich in the culture there. And that's great. I love that. But as far as quality of animal, I hear a lot about quantity, but not so much about quality. And I said, so it just makes me wonder why anybody that really is serious about killing big bucks on film would dedicate time to go into Michigan. Y'all are making it sound like it's not that great. I mean, because we only have limited time to hunt.
Yeah.
And if we're going to go out of state, I'll be damned if I'm going to like target a state that is notorious for being a challenge. But you know what? I left there. And not like more than 2 or 3 people in the front of that audience really grinned when I said that, and I thought it was gonna like create a stir, and nobody really cared, or I don't know, maybe they're pissed. And I was like, well, shoot, I don't know if I offended people or what, talking about the hunting in Michigan, but I was just trying to make a point. I left there and thinking about that, and I was talking to my girlfriend as we were driving home. We had a good 5-hour drive, and part of our conversation was that, when I made those comments. I was talking about how it was like crickets when I said that. And she goes, well, maybe you should. And I'm like, well, I don't know. I mean, that would be against everything that I've ever done. Every time I target going out of state on a hunt, I target states that, have good quality in addition to the quantity. Yeah. I mean, I want to improve my odds the best I can. I mean, I'm trying to make film here, and I'm trying to have a good time. She's like, yeah, but what happened to, like, how you talk about trail cameras and how you kind of wonder if maybe trail cameras have ruined hunting for you a little bit? Because I talk about that a lot too. Like you watch your cameras so often, and then you see a big one show up, and then suddenly you turn a blind eye to any other buck that walks by that's not the one that air quotes target. You know what I mean? And you put your whole heart and soul into that whole.
Oh, I think I lost you there for a minute.
Kills them, and you get pissed, and it's like, shoot. Back when I started hunting, it was a decision that you made upon the encounter. Big buck walks in, or maybe it's not even big. Maybe it's a 2.5-year-old with a decent rack, and he comes in, but he got your blood going. Yep. Your heart was beating, and you decided to shoot him, and hell, you celebrated afterwards. You called your buddies, and it was great. Now, trail cameras, you almost... you shoot the wrong deer and you're upset with yourself. And then what happened? So I talk about that all the time. Yep. She's like, well, maybe that could coincide with your attitude towards, like, out-of-state hunts because I like to go out-of-state 2 or 3 times a season.
Yep.
And maybe you should actually get back to your roots of, like, that enticing challenge. Everybody talks about, come do it in Michigan. Maybe you should. And I'll probably fall on my face trying, but
Yep.
I've actually been toying with the idea.
Oh, right on. Well, I'm one of the Michigan guys. I've hunted in Ohio for the last 5 years, Sam.
Mhm.
And Elvin, the producer of the show, he does all our editing and all that stuff. I'm just starting. We're getting a little bigger, so needs a little help on the editing. So I'm just starting to jump into that, starting to learn that and stuff. But he's been to Wisconsin, I do believe, like twice or 3 times, and he says that there's a little bit more deer, but he says it's exactly like if we were hunting in Michigan. And I'm on the fence right now if I'm going to try to make it early season this year for Wisconsin. I got Illinois. We're going to go for the Illinois right before we go to Ohio, the weekend before we go to Ohio. We're just going to shoot over there for 4 days. If something happens in 4 days and it gets exciting, we might stay a little bit and then shoot over to Ohio. So we're... Jake and I, Jake's the other member of the show, and he's my cousin, and last year was his first time ever going to Ohio, and his eyes just opened up, you know what I mean, the bucks that he was seeing, and he missed one.
Sure.
And it took us forever just to get him talked into going out of state, and I don't have much room, you know what I mean, I've only been to Ohio, but it comes down to, you know what I mean, I got a regular job, family, so I only get to choose 3-4 weeks to go somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
you gotta make the right. You gotta make the right choice. How you gonna maximize your the profitability, I guess, on your decision making as far as where you go.
Yep.
Yeah, success is everything when it comes to hunting, but actually, is it though? Because if you don't have an adventure to tell a story, then how great was that hunt? Really.
Right.
And so, like, if you can pull a diamond out of the rough, man, that would be one of those hunts that'll last. I mean, every successful hunt really lasts a lifetime, really. I mean, who can't remember a certain deer they shot? I've shot a lot of deer, and I might not be able to think of them all right now, but if I sat and put my head into it and, like, wrote a book on it, bet I'd think about just about every deer I think I've ever shot, even those of all sizes, even the yearlings, from when I was a kid. I think that if you just, I mean, for sure, with a family and you got to do that work-life balance, and then you get a little bit of time to go hunt. Yeah, for sure. Especially for the younger guys that are just starting out, it might sound like the great idea when you're young to go chase the harder to get whitetails, but honestly, I think the biggest thing for me when I was younger was getting more kills under my belt, and it's kind of like when you get that itchy trigger finger off your chest. If you shoot a doe or something, and you're able to, like, unwind and then chill a little bit more when bucks start walking by, or in the season. I think that for younger guys, after they've killed a few nice deer, they're able to kind of unwind a little bit and not necessarily give so much of damn about a season gone by without filling a tag, or going out of state chasing a deer in somewhere they've never been and then failing. I struck out in North Dakota after 7 days of hunting really hard and putting a ton of miles on, and I was told a friendly acquaintance of mine, Dustin Mole, who is a hell of a hunter, from Minnesota, from the western side of Minnesota. He hunts North Dakota quite a bit. He's got tremendous success. And he told me when he knew I was going out that way, he said, take just about everything that you think you know about whitetails in Wisconsin and you leave it at home, because when you get out here, everything is different. And he was 100% spot on. Mm-hmm. I mean, it is so tremendously different in North Dakota than it is in Wisconsin. It's almost laughable how crazy different it is. It's so hard, and I don't hunt over bait. Now a lot of guys do, and that's fine with them. But and they just changed the rule, by the way. If anybody's listening to this in North Dakota, you used to be able to hunt right over the top of bait. Now, I don't know. I don't remember the exact rule, but I think they moved it to you can't hunt within 100 yards. You can still put bait out, but you can't hunt over it. You have to be at least 100 yards away from it, which
Okay.
is that's gonna flip the script on a ton of guys who
Yeah.
have had annual success there. I mean, but my point in bringing up North Dakota is that, like, that is so hard, and yet I'm planning on going right back there in a few weeks. I mean, it can't be any more challenging than finding a decent whitetail in Michigan. I mean, I'm not. In Wisconsin is a lot like Michigan too. A lot of small acre pieces. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we
So
got, you know what I mean, we got, just like you guys, you know what I mean, the area that we're targeting, without, you know, saying any exact counties and names and towns and stuff, where Elvin's been, I mean, it's just down the road from where Dan Infault and them guys are at. And he's been out there a couple times. He's seen nice bucks. He just hasn't been able to close the deal. Weather's been in the issue. But for the price of the tag, how far it is from our house, you know what I mean? You're talking about 6-7 hour drive tops.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We can easily do a weekend and stuff. But to get on the note of the deer in Michigan compared to the deer in Wisconsin, I'm going to say you guys have, you know what I mean, a little bit better numbers when it comes to the bucks. But getting on them is just like anything else. They're here. We got some big portions of public land just like you guys do. You know what I mean? And then you go a couple miles and there'd be nothing to be all private, and then another section of public, and in that public area there's going to be one or two nice bucks, because to get back on that trail camera area, every truck you drive by during deer season, those guys have a trail camera, and those guys on that trail camera, they got a decent buck on trail camera. That's the reason they're sitting there. So if you count in every truck that you drive by, and they're in different areas, that just tells you they have a decent buck on camera. It's just the point of getting in, figuring out the pattern and the strategy, and then trying to get, you know what I mean, get that deer on the ground. But we have them here. It's just, I mean, you got to work a little bit, but it's no different if I go to, like me going to Wisconsin, you know what I mean, Elvin's got a little bit of intel on it, but we can't go at the same time, so I'll be going out there by myself. It's the same thing. I'm going in blind. I'm going to do my Onyx just like anybody else would. I'm going to go into a piece of public. I'm going to scout it and hope for the best. I'm going to put the patterns together, get my strategy, and can't even talk right now, but hopefully I get one on camera, you know what I mean? But same thing, 4-day Illinois hunt. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pick a spot out. I'm going to go scout it and hope for the best, and those are some high number states for bucks. But that makes I guess that makes the hunt and the story for me anyways.
Yeah.
That's the reason I do it.
I totally agree. No, the biggest challenge for you as a filmer is going to be making sure that you capture that story well, to tell that story the way it deserves to be told.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That's always far and wide. That has become one of the most challenging parts for me, is once I really dedicated myself to the camera, what it used to be just, you know, for fun, you know, I would film here and there, and at the end of the year I'd compile the footage and put something hodgepodge it together, you know, and it was fun to rewatch, but it became something where, you know, for me, the filming side, you know, I don't know if with maturity or what, but, you know, it almost became to the point where, hell, even seeing a nice sunset or something when I was by myself, I almost felt selfish to see it with nobody to share it with.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, I kind of became glued to my camera, and I started bringing it everywhere. And then I started trying to capture things, you know, based on benchmarks that I was seeing on television, like Discovery Channel, and some of my favorite films that I've watched, you know, outdoor related online. Donnie Vincent stuff really struck me. And I don't care if, you know, on Donnie Vincent, if he could have just walked across that river every day and it was only ankle deep, watching him try to maneuver that boat across the river before he ever came out with, you know, talking publicly about how shallow and simple it was to walk across that river. for me, just watching it, I felt like, wow, what a story, what an adventure. I want to produce stuff that makes me feel the way, or makes people feel the way I felt watching that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But there's a challenge when you're by yourself, especially out of state. You're like, okay, I'm limited on time. I'm also struggling with the stress of like, I only have so much time to get it done, and I don't know what I'm doing. And and then at the same time trying to film that and do a good job at it, it's just added pressure.
Yeah.
So good luck to you this year as you're trying to do that out of state. I know exactly how hard it is.
I appreciate it. Now, when we talk early season, Wisconsin there, is there a certain in that early season? Is there a strategy that you key on as for like food, bedding, water sources? I mean, I know you hunt little private areas and stuff, but it comes down to it. It's no different than any public land. You know what I mean? You're still using the same strategies, just a
Well,
little bit less pressure.
Wisconsin's weird, man. I mean, I love the state, but we have farmland, we have hill country out here, we have the Northwoods.
Yep.
You have 3 different types of habitat, and they are very distinct. The driftless area is all real hilly. I mean, we have huge bluffs that are, for Wisconsin standards, we have 1,000 to 1,200 foot bluffs, and those are real cliffy. And then a lot of times you have ag fields on the tops of them, and then they drip down into bottoms. And then there's other parts of that same driftless area where the fields are down in the bottoms, and the ridges plateau or like peak, and there's no plateau up at the top. That's very unique area to hunt. And then you have like the farmland, which is majority of central Wisconsin all the way down to the south, up to Lake Michigan, down to Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
It's real flat. Our hills here are 50 or maybe 50 foot high or so, and just not tall. We have rotating crops here just to keep the soil rich, and they're really rotating between corn and beans, and that's really the meat of it.
Okay.
We don't have besides hay fields, corn and beans. I don't think there's really much else to speak to. Sometimes we see winter wheat and that kind of thing, but that's the majority of our crop.
Gotcha.
And then you get a little bit more to the upper third of the state, and that's all Northwoods, where it's Chequamegon and Nicolet National Forest land, 10.5 to 15,000 acres of straight, just towering pines, birch trees. You've got your dogwood and tamarack swamps, that kind of thing. Those deer up there are very nomadic, and I mean they're eating pond cones and all kinds of weird stuff that they forage on. And there's not a whole lot of rhyme or reason. I mean, I think if you're in the northern part of Wisconsin, the best pattern you could possibly get onto would be hunting close as you can to the road between houses, because literally the roads are the only areas up there where there's enough sunlight to grow fresh, vegetation that they can forage well on. If you get into the deep hardwoods and deciduous forests up there, there's just not enough light penetrating the earth to get a crop of anything that they can forage on.
Okay.
So by the roads where they mow and whatnot, there's all kinds of stuff. So every evening and every morning, you can pretty much bank on, running out of fingers on your hands to count of how many deer you see in a few miles.
Yep.
Because they're coming out of the woodwork to eat.
Well,
and people drive up there and they think deer are everywhere up north, but they're not. They just all are coming to one concentrated area.
Okay.
And then there's all the guys, people that live in those houses up there. A lot of people retire up there. Not that everybody up north is old, but I mean a lot of people retire up north, and they have bird feeders, and those deer love those feeders up there because that's all they have to eat. It's something that's consistent. So they end up almost like making buffalo trails, paths from one house to the next, like frontage roads along a freeway. They just travel along the highways up there to get from one bird feeder to the next. So, I mean, it's totally different, the north part of the state from the west part of the state to the central south part of the state here in Wisconsin. So it depends on where you live. But one thing is for sure is that, farming communities are really dwindling. It's hard for local farmers to stay in business. In fact, most farmers are paying more than they're making just to plant a crop and milk cows.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you've got a big, you're a massive business in the farming industry, you're probably plundering and losing money faster than you're making it. And that means farmers are selling off land. And that's been happening for a long time. And I would say the majority of Wisconsin is, made up of 10s and 20s. Yeah, I mean, you still have your back 40s.
Mm-hmm.
You still got your 120 acres and blah, blah, blah. But you don't really see a whole lot of 250s and bigger around here. It's a bunch of small acre private, which is why it's so hard to hunt. And just like in Michigan, in Wisconsin, hunting it runs in our blood. In fact, a lot of towns take off of school, let kids out of school on the Friday before opening day of gun season, because it's such a big deal. So everybody and their brother's friend is bow hunting nowadays, where 20 years ago you could get permission just about anywhere. People didn't bow hunt really as much. 30 years ago, it was like, bow hunting, what's that?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was just not it wasn't something that was such a big deal. But it's become so popular. It's almost like the way that the industry has kind of made these saddles like the new wave of hunting out of a tree.
Yep.
It's just crazy what a fad it's become. Almost like public land. Like if you don't kill a buck on public land, it's not worth as much credit,
Right.
as a private land buck, and that's a whole nother topic for another day. But
well, we do the same thing. We hunt public and we got privates. I got 10 acres myself on. I got apple trees, and it's just I'm 2 years on it right now, and I'm still building it up, doing little food plots, just trying to get the bucks and the deer to recognize that this is a new area for feed and bedding and stuff. So, yeah, we're, most part, when we go out of state and shit, it's public land. But when you explain Wisconsin from the north to the east to the west, it's pretty much the same here in Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go down south of Michigan, where Kalamazoo and stuff like that, and you go towards the east a little bit. They got some big bucks, and we got those like Michigan buck poll and stuff on Facebook, and people posting pictures of their bucks. There's a shitload of big bucks getting shot in Michigan. It's they're everywhere. It's just
I believe it. And maybe the guys shooting the big ones there are like the guys in Iowa that are a lot smarter than some of us folks here in Wisconsin. There's a reason why when you look at the record books online, Wisconsin is solid red, and then it's spotty all around us. It's because Wisconsin is just a bunch of guys that shot big bucks that really want to be in the books.
Yep.
Loose lips sink ships, man.
Yep.
And I have no interest in ever registering any of the deer I've killed or do kill in the books. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I don't want to attract more attention to the area. You know what I'm saying?
In your area.
Mm-hmm. And I think people are starting to catch on to that. I think more so around us than here in Wisconsin. But just to quick answer your original question, when I'm concentrating on early season, here where I'm from is the farmland area. And we have a lot of white oak. We have red oak too. But the deer seem to avoid the red oak, the acorns from that. So when we have a good crop of acorns, I like to target alfalfa fields and bean fields.
Okay.
The first week of the season, sometimes first couple weeks, until those beans start to really yellow up. Even if there's some green leaves out there still in a yellow field, deer will go out there and browse. A lot of guys think that, hey, when the beans turn yellow, they're going to get real bitter, and that's true, and the deer do avoid them. But if the beans are dried up by the beginning of October, and they haven't been cut yet, but there's a few green ones out there yet, you can bet there's going to be deer out browsing around looking for those green ones. And so I'll target those types of fields. I don't really hunt field edges a whole lot. I'll hunt just inside within 100 yards or so. Anywhere where I've got like white oaks button up against the egg fields. I've seen so many big deer come out in the summertime showing themselves. But if I can see them, most likely in Wisconsin anyways, then somebody from the road probably can spot them too. And it doesn't take long for guys to catch on and go back and forth night after night trying to see the same deer. they'll start pulling over to look at them through binos or show friends and film or whatever. And those deer catch on quick, and they'll start hanging tight in the hardwoods until it's dusk, and then they'll step out into the field. And so I found that, if you focus on the inside 100 of the field edges, those bigger, more mature deer will tend to browse on the acorns waiting for dusk before they go stick their nose out into the open field where you've got a bunch of 2-year-olds, year-and-a-half-olds and does feeding. You know what I mean? So that's kind of my early season tactic, unless I've got some sort of visual evidence that a buck that I want to kill is frequenting the field right up until the last week of the season. And if he is coming out in daylight, then in that case, I might sit a field edge. But yeah, I like to sit inside the woods a little bit. The only thing that sucks is that early season, when you're sitting inside the woods, the canopy is so dense that, it gets dark earlier. And when it gets dark, shoot, I mean, you can't see as well. And then if you were to walk out the woods and get to the field edge, it's bright out. And you're kind of like, well, shoot, I just lost like 10 minutes of the day because I decided to hunt in the woods. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Have you made it up to the northern part and hunted up that way recently or anything?
Nope, I have not hunted northern Wisconsin for 3 years. Well, I gun hunted northern Wisconsin this last season, but I haven't bow hunted in 3 years way up there. It's a 4.5-hour drive to get to those reaches. I just sold my cabin up in Three Lakes. That's up in the Nicolet National Forest area, and there's a lot of great land around there, and it's all public, and there's no need to knock on doors for private because there's so much public and it all looks the same. There's no distinct difference between one guy's private and the public next door.
Right.
So, but I haven't been up there. I've really just been concentrated on down here. I've got a bunch of big bucks that I can chase. And to be perfectly honest with you, it's like fishing, man. Don't leave fish to find fish. And if I've got a bunch of big deer down here, there's no convincing me to get lost for a week to go up north to to really struggle when I know I've got good odds down here.
Oh hell yeah! You got what's your plans looking for this coming up year? You got a couple states in mind that you're going to?
Yep. So we're gonna be hitting North Dakota here in a minute. That's the beginning of September. I'll be there for the long weekend, and then I'll turn and burn to get home. I'll hunt Wisconsin for the the meat of the season, and then I like to get to Minnesota once or twice a year. I don't think that's in the cards this year. I did apply for my kill tag in Iowa, and was rejected with 5 points. And I was looking at Zone 5. I've got a couple of permission farms down in the southern part of the state there. I've been dying to go hunt, but even with 5 points, I could not get drawn. So that's off the table. I did not apply in time for Kansas. I got 2 points for Kansas. So it looks like aside from my trip to North Dakota, the only other out-of-state hunt that I for sure am signed up for is going to be in Nebraska, and that'll be a muzzleloader hunt at the beginning of December. I'll be flying down to Texas, and then I got a wedding down there, and then I'm getting on a plane and flying straight to Nebraska. The boys will pick me up from the airport, and we'll get to camp, and we'll hunt for 3, 4, or 5 days or whatever, and then I'll wrap up my season here in Wisconsin.
Oh, right on. Well, it sounds like you do have some free time to come over to Michigan then.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's just a hop, skip, and a jump away. I mean, it takes 4 hours for me. It's just like driving in the northern part of Wisconsin. So, if I decided to hunt Michigan, I just might. Like I said, a lot of my success in the last decade or 12 years has been that first couple of days of the season, and I hope, and I can't obviously depend on it, but I sure hope I can do it again this year. And if I do, it sure opens up my time to go film the other guys on my team more often, and then and go explore some other territory. So Michigan's definitely on the bucket list.
Oh hell yeah, yeah. We just got I do believe I don't want to bite my tongue just in case it's too late to say, but Kevin from the Hunting Podcast there, he has a camp. He has a camp coming up in October. I don't want to say the dates, but it sounds like we just got invited to go and hang out with them guys for the weekend. So,
Well, go kick it in the Airstream. It looks like he's got a hell of a camp and a thing going on there. I like Kevin a lot. I've done his podcast, I don't know, a handful of times, and he's a real great guy, and I'm sure he runs a great camp. You guys will have a good time with that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he, tell the truth, he comes over to our area there. He just moved to Traverse City, and sounds like he just got situated and stuff, and tell the truth, he comes right in our backyard and hunts over by us. So, yeah, we're going to go set up camp and do that whole camping thing with them. But our season starts October 1st, and they usually do camp within the next couple weekends of that. You know what I mean? So
Awesome.
you should just try to make it up that weekend, and then just come crash the party.
Well, man, you give me a holler, and I just might do that.
Yeah, the tags and stuff are pretty much the same as if we went to Wisconsin, and
Sure.
but yeah, we got Wisconsin. I'm not sure if I think Elvin's gonna try to make it there. So either him or I are gonna go to Wisconsin. Then we got Illinois for a weekend, and then we got Ohio we do Ohio for 7 days. We do a Ohio deer camp pretty much, and it's a little bow camp series type thing that we just started last year, and we got about 6 guys, so it's good times. It's a little bit different terrain, more deer, gets the excitement. We tried the trail cameras and stuff one year, and it just doesn't work out when you're so far away from the house, and so we just go in blind, and we get excited for every deer that comes in pretty much. And I think we're going to stick with that when we go to Illinois and stuff. We're not going to go preseason. We're just going to pick a spot on the map and hope for the best.
Hope for the best. Yeah, I hear you. Well, there's always some fun involved with that. Good luck on that journey, man. I hope the best for you guys. And maybe I'll see you guys in Michigan.
Yeah. I don't want to keep you too late and stuff. Maybe we can get you on preseason, before season, or right. Well, you got season coming up, but I mean, I should say I keep forgetting you guys have early season. We don't start until October, so maybe I can hit you back up after season. How's that?
That sounds good. Well, you hit me up anytime, and like I said, maybe I'll bump into you boys in Michigan. I'll definitely holler at you if I get over there.
Yeah.
Or for Kevin's camp or whatever. But yeah, man, I'm down to talk anytime. So give me a shout, and we can catch up and recap on how things are going or how things went. Yeah,
I appreciate it, boss. And if I don't talk to you before season, hopefully you guys do good in North Dakota, right? Is that what you said you were going?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right on. Well, nice talking to you, and like I said, good luck.
Thank you. Take care. Thanks for having me on.
Yep, talk to you.
What just happened?
I don't know, man.
Those are the moments right there that make you feel the most alive.
Look at that frickin' brute. That's a 4-year-old buck.
I just shot the biggest buck I ever had in Michigan.
Michigan, it's Michigan gone wild here in Michigan, where the back roads run for miles and miles with the will of a man and the heart of a child on Michigan gone wild. Michigan gone wild. Michigan gone